One of the marks of a Jesus follower, one of the things that sets us apart as his people is that word gentle. The followers of Jesus are called upon to be gentle. Now, in our world, that kind of has a negative connotation. It kind of implies weakness. It implies kind of being a sissy. But in the ancient world, the world in which Jesus lived, that word gentle had a much stronger meaning. In fact, as Paul would travel the churches and he would teach people, one of the pastors that he taught was Timothy. And he told Timothy this instruction. He said to pursue a life that God approves of. And then he gives a list of the things that God approves of. And the list is faith, love, endurance, and gentleness. So Paul is teaching this young pastor, as you pursue life, live a life that's godly, that God approves of. And the things that God approves of are faith, love, endurance, and gentleness. Now, the word that Paul used that we translate gentle is the word prautes in Greek. And it referred to not anything weak. It referred to a wild stallion that had been tamed. So imagine that word picture the next time you think of the word gentle, or the next time you're called upon to be gentle. That in the mind of the Bible writers, gentle meant a wild stallion that had been tamed. And the picture is, a wild stallion all by himself living out in the hills can be a dangerous, dangerous animal. They are so strong and so fast and so powerful. And if you get in their way, if you get trampled by one, if you startle one, you are in a lot of danger, because a wild stallion has a lot of power. But if you can capture that stallion, and if you can tame that stallion doesn't lose any of its strength, it doesn't lose any of its power, it just loses its wildness, and it becomes a useful tool in the hands of the one who has tamed it. And so when Paul says to pursue a life of godliness, one that God approves, and part of that is to be gentle, just imagine being a wild stallion full of power and full of strength, but that has been tamed by our master and is now something far more useful. It's useful to many people, not just itself. This is how we should think of being gentle: strength, power, under control, useful to the one who controls us, useful to the one who rescued us from the wild. And there's an Old Testament story about how gentleness is an attractive quality in a man, believe it or not. Back in the Old Testament, there was a lady named Ruth. She was a single lady. She was looking to get married, and she met an older guy who was kind of wealthy. His name was Boaz. And they developed this romance, and they actually went on to become the great-great-grandfather of King David. But in the middle of their story, Ruth tells Boaz that one of the reasons I was attracted to you is you made me feel better by speaking to me gently. So gentleness is power under control, but it is an attractive quality. It actually attracts people to you. So I would say to you, if you're a Jesus follower, that being a gentle person, using gentleness in a situation where others are using power and harshness and rashness, using that gentleness makes you so useful and so attractive, because you have learned to tame, to control the strength and the power that God has given you. And it's become useful not just to you, but to the people around you. Live a godly life, one that God approves of, one of faith, one of love, one of endurance, and one of gentleness. Just try today, in the next opportunity you have, when you feel like being harsh, when you feel like being rude, when you feel like being rash, when you feel like answering quickly. Instead, just once today, try it. Try responding with gentleness, strength under control, and just see if that situation doesn't get better really, really quick. I bet it does. See ya.